Alright, man. You got it now. Alright. Shalom Spitah. This is Officer 7000 Yahweh. I'm teaching a Monday night history class. Today's topic is we're going to get into Thanksgiving and why it's an evil holiday. And blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans should never celebrate Thanksgiving. Alright? Give me 1 second. Gotta handle this real quick. Okay. What are you commonly taught about Thanksgiving, right? What's something you commonly taught about?
Family gathering.
If you could, raise your hand too. All right, go ahead. You
It's a family gathering. Family getting together.
Family gatherings, yeah. It's family gatherings. That's correct. What's some other things you commonly talk about Thanksgiving? All right, think about it. What?
No, I said people going a day off work.
Your day off work? Yeah. That go back to slavery times, man. For real. What else? What else we talk? What is that?
This is the day you're supposed to give God thanks.
Supposed to give God thanks, man. That's what you're supposed to do today, right? All right. But how do you show God thanks for something, right? You show God thanks for something by celebrating His holy days, or what you call, which holy days just where they get holidays from. Those holy days. But you're supposed to celebrate God's holidays, right? That's how you show thanks, right? Because when you got Passover, what are you truly doing? You coming together to show thanks to God to get you out of the hellhole that was Egypt, right? The Feast of Purim, that's to get out of the hellhole when we was under what was it? Azarias or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? What's his name?
East Indians.
Yeah, East Indian. I know he's East Indian.
Xerxes.
Xerxes. We was getting out of his control, right? The day of the dedication, we was getting out of the hand of the Greeks, right? That's what all of ours is for. Is to show thanks, and like we about to celebrate the Feast of Dedication, right? Which we're gonna decorate. That's why we had to move. Some of the stuff or whatever. That's why we that's why we had to change it right now, because we getting the podium together, right? We rededicating this place. See what I'm saying? So that's why we do this, because it's supposed to be, it's like our holiday, if you want to say. So we actually coming in, cleaning it up, getting it together, showing thanks to the Most High. They forget us out of the hellhole captivities we was in. Just like, that's how we show thanks to God now, by following His law, statutes, and commandments. And that's what, that's what you're not doing when you celebrate Thanksgiving. Because Thanksgiving is a bloody holiday, right? That's like, what happened to Passover. You see, where our God, He destroyed the Egyptians, right? Can you imagine the Egyptians celebrating Thanksgiving? Can you imagine that? Right? They're not going to celebrate their destruction. That's stupidity, right?
The Egyptians celebrating Passover.
Huh?
The Egyptians celebrating Passover.
Yeah, God, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They're celebrating their destruction. They're not going to celebrate Passover.
God.
It don't make no sense for them. Right? Exactly. So you ain't going to see Pharaoh, eating lamb. He didn't think about no damn lamb. He lost his son. Right? He lost all his fighters. And then Egypt became nothing after that. It literally withered away into nothing. That Egypt ain't even, like Egypt, we talk about, even with Israel, we talk about what's going to happen, the kingdom of heaven, because we never really reigned. The only thing good about Egypt was the past. They still only talk about the past, right? They can't talk about what Egypt is. Now they can say they got pyramids still now, right? But the pyramids, like I said, they piss on the side of the pyramids. The Egyptians that's over there, they don't care about them pyramids. Right? We care about them because we think like there's a black face on it or a dark skinned face. So we care about the pyramids. And our oppressor cares about the pyramids. But the pyramids don't mean nothing to you. Your slave ancestors had to build those pyramids. So why are you honoring something that your people was forced to build? You you should look at those pyramids as just like you go you go to like a slave museum. It was like a slave museum, or you go like one time we went to this we went to a what do they do with the Native Americans? They got the events they have. Don't try to say right. What's the events that Native Americans have? A powwow. We went to a powwow before, and they had the slave quarters. Man, the slave quarters could fit in this corner right here. That's how small it was. It could fit in this corner. And they was talking about these was fancy because they had windows. That's what one of the devils said. Because we thought the slave quarters was a little bit bigger. We thought that was like a chicken coop. But he said no. These was fancy. They had windows and everything. It was silence among all the brothers in the school. Because everybody wanted to beat the hell out of this devil. You know what I'm saying? Because that was like an insult, but they don't even see that as an insult. They look at you like you should want to be like us. You should want to celebrate what we celebrate. You should be happy we brought you over here to make you a slave. Now you learn Christianity. That was your thank you gift. That was what you got for all your years of slavery was Christianity. And they think that was a gift because now you supposed to be saved by God now, but they just put you in further destruction.
And that's another reason why they named the tribe of Gad Indian, because Indian means savage.
Yep.
So they think they civilized you from being a savage when they came over here. But naturally, the so-called Indian, the so-called savage, they civilized them. Yep. They taught them how to take baths, they taught them how to grow crops, and taught them how to live in the land. But when they came over here, they wasn't civilized. They was a damn savage.
Yep. Like, just think about it. They had us on slave ships where you got to think we in close quarters, right? And dying because we so close together, we don't even have nowhere to get rid of our wastes. So diseases is spreading rampant and people is dying. Like, you got to be a nasty bastard to even, like, I wouldn't want that to happen because I know eventually we got to go down there and clean it up, right? But no, that nasty. It's better just to let them stay down there and stink because they stink. That's the truth. It was okay because like they don't believe in taking baths. They really didn't until they came over here. That's when they learned to wash up. First, it was in Europe. That's why all of those plagues spread out so strong. Because they didn't want to take baths. They was throwing trash, like they was throwing all their trash and I'm trying to think clean words here. But they was throwing urinating and defecating in between the houses, right? And that's why all the diseases started spreading around and killing people. Because they didn't know how to keep themselves clean. That's why you won't read of no famine and here in the Americas before they came. You read it, look it up. You won't find it. You won't. I'm not famine, plagues. You won't find a plague. You won't find no diseases that almost wiped out all the Native Americans. You won't find it because we kept ourselves clean. They don't believe in that.
Like if I may, if you look up in the history, they believe if you was to take a bath, you would be spreading disease. That's what they believe. You taking a bath. So instead of them taking a bath, they believe in changing clothes. It's how you didn't spread disease. It's how you stay clean. It's by changing clothes and not by cleaning with water.
You know what happens to you? Like, we don't, of course, y'all don't know what don't happen to y'all if you don't take a bath and stuff like that. We don't know. But when you don't wash up, like, it messes up your skin. You start getting like open sores in your skin. And when you do that, that's one of the ways you spread diseases. Have open sores because you're not washing up. Because all of them bacteria, if you don't wash them off, like everybody has bacteria and all type of different things on their skin. Everybody has that, right? That's why you have to bathe so they never get, they can stay under control, right? But they don't want to do that, so they get skin lesions, and now these diseases start spreading. That's why if you look at even their skin, the ones you can tell the ones that don't bathe, their skin look like it's something like, it's like a whole layer of just dirt just sitting right there. That's all bacteria just sitting in their skin. That's what I'm saying. They don't believe in that, but when they came over here, that's what they learned. Like it's on record that when they came over here, the Indians was saying how dirty they were, how bad they stink. It's on record. I mean, I can find. I'll show it to y'all. It's on record that they were saying, man, they filthy. And you thought of them as being savages and living off the land, and they supposed to be civilized. They came off their boat. They like, man, these some funky people out here. He said, yeah, that's why they helped them. They felt bad. Yeah, these man, look at these white, look at these oppressors. They don't even know how to bathe themselves, man. That's why they did all that, right? But then what they did after when they took their kindness and they turned them against each other, man. Like the Mayans and the Mayan Indians and the Aztecs, they ain't had no beef with each other like that. They took one little disagreement, and they had one disagreement, and made them fight and wipe each other almost off, bro. One disagreement that they probably could have worked out, but they was giving each other, weapons to kill each other. Man, anybody that don't have it, y'all need to get their book. It's called Black Indians. That's a good book to read, Black Indians. You can buy it on Amazon. It's like $10 or whatever. But they'll tell you about all the stuff that would have happened. They'll tell you about how the Indians were saying that they was funky, all of that. Teach you all that. Then the Aztec Indians, you call dirty Mexicans, right? That's what they call them, dirty Mexicans, right? The dirty Mexicans is the ones that made the whole trash, how they go pick up the trash and get rid of it, dispose of it. That was invented by Mexicans or your Aztecs. So that's where they learned that from. They didn't learn that for themselves. Waste management, they learned that from Native Americans. You don't learn this stuff in school. That's why you got to come into the truth so you can learn what the truth is. All right? All right. Let's get into this. All right. It's the history of Thanksgiving. All right. So I'll give them 1 second. Okay. All right. Thanksgiving in the U.S. is traditionally a time for family and food. American school children typically learn that the tradition dates back to the Pilgrims, who helped establish the Plymouth colony in 1620, which is now Massachusetts. As the story goes, friendly American Indian locals swooped in to teach the struggling colonists how to survive in what the Europeans called the New World. Then everyone got together to celebrate with a feast in 1621. Thanksgiving 2021 will mark the 400th anniversary of that first American Thanksgiving. But in reality, Thanksgiving feast predate Plymouth, and the peace celebrated that day was tenuous. The real story behind the holiday is so dark, in fact, that some people are rethinking how they celebrate the holiday or whether they should at all. All right, the Plymouth Thanksgiving of 1621 wasn't the first. Settlers in Berkeley Hundred, which is now Virginia, celebrated their arrival with a Thanksgiving as far back as 1619, according to National Geographic. Through the Washingtonian reported the meal was probably little more than some oysters and ham thrown together. Of course, you gotta add that pork, right? Gotta add unlawful food, oysters and ham, right? Decades before that, Spanish settlers and members of the Seloy tribe broke bread with Florida with salted pork, garbanzo beans, and a mass in 1565, according to the National Park Service. Now, don't let this get twisted. Native Americans, not of course all, but Native Americans they abstained from eating pork. A lot of them abstained from eating pork. This is on record. They didn't believe in eating it. But, after getting colonized and all of that, they started eating pork. All right? Decades before that, our modern definition of Thanksgiving revolves around eating turkey, but this was more of an occasion for religious observance in past centuries. The pilgrims will most likely consider the sober 1623 day of prayer the first actual Thanksgiving per the history of Massachusetts blog. Others pinpoint 1637 as the true origin of Thanksgiving, since the Massachusetts Bay Colony's governor John Winthrop declared a day to celebrate colonial soldiers who had just slaughtered hundreds of Pequot men, women, and children, which is now called Mystic, Connecticut. So next time you go to Mystic, just know you're walking on your dead brothers and sisters' bodies. Just think about that when you go to Thanksgiving. When you celebrate Thanksgiving, just think about all those hundreds of men and women and children that got murdered for Thanksgiving. Regardless, the popular telling of the initial harvest festival is what lived on, thanks to Abraham Lincoln, of course. The enduring holiday has also nearly erased from our collective memory what happened between the Wampanoag and the English a generation later. All right? Peace didn't last. Massasoit, the Wampanoag paramount chief, allied with the English settlers after Plymouth was established and fought with the newcomers against the French and other local tribes. But the alliance became strained over time as thousands more English colonists moved to Plymouth, taking over more land. Authorities asserted control over most aspects of Wampanoag life. According to historic context, Indian people and colonists in today's northeastern United States. A study published in the Journal of Quaternary Science Reviews estimate that disease had already reduced the New England indigenous population by 90% in 1620. The Wampanoag continued to die from what the colonists called Indian fever, an unknown disease brought by early European settlers. They want to tell you that they brought over diseases over here. No, they brought them. They purposely gave diseases over here. They try to tell you like, okay, you come over here, like you got diseases in you that other people might be able to catch or whatever. But no, they purposely would find somebody that was sick with smallpox, the measles, all these other diseases. They would purposely get that person, wrap it up in blankets and give it to the Native Americans to kill them. They would take the diseases and kill the people. Like, it wasn't even like they try to act like it was just an accident. It was just because he was in close proximity. No, it was because they purposely set out to kill them. Right? If it was that way, then how come the slaves, think about this, there were slaves that came on slave ships, right? Why didn't they get their population decimated? They weren't from Europe. Right? Y'all get that? Because it was purposefully done. They try to blame it on diseases. Yes, some people might have died from disease, but no, they killed them. See what I'm saying? Think about this for a second. How many people did they get from out of Africa? Millions, right? Why ain't it a report of them dying from diseases? Measles, smallpox. Those were European diseases. Those weren't African diseases. Think about that for a second. Why do you hear about they getting to Native Americans? Because it was done on purpose. It wasn't an accident. They purposely killed them, and they say we're gonna blame it on disease. We call it Indian fever, an unknown disease. You know what I think Indian fever was? Like the Salem witch trials. Just something to kill somebody for. He got the Indian fever because he pissed off y'all killing his people and taking his land. He got the Indian fever. I mean, I wasn't around at that time, but I just know how things work, you know what I'm saying? I know I've been living with this, you know, my short years on this earth. I've been living with the oppressor. I know how he works, right? All right. Wampanoag warriors, by the time Massasoit's son Metacumit, known to the English as King Philip, inherited leadership, relations had frayed. His men were executed for the murder of the Ponkapo interpreter and Christian convert John Sassanin, sparking King Philip's war. So he went killing people. And then so now we fighting back. I ain't saying we got the fever. Wampanoag warriors responded with raids, and New England Confederation of Colonies declared war in 1675. The war was bloody and devastating. In an article published in the Historical Journal of Massachusetts, the Montclair State University professor Robert E. Craig Jr. said the death toll could have been up to 30% of the English population and half the Native Americans in New England. Metacumit was beheaded and dismembered, according to it happened in Rhode Island. And colonists impaled his head on a spike to display for 25 years. The war was just one of a series of brutal but dimly remembered early conflicts between Native Americans and colonists in New England, New York, and Virginia. The holiday's dark past has some people rethinking Thanksgiving. A recently renewed focus on racial injustice in the U.S. has some people saying it's time to reevaluate the meaning and celebration of Thanksgiving. Teachers, professors, and Native Americans told the New York Times that they were rethinking a holiday that has marginalized the U.S. violence and cruelty against Native Americans, giving it names like Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving Massacre. And reflections on Thanksgiving are not new. According to the New York Post, the United American Indians of New England have been publicly mourning on Thanksgiving for decades. Frank James, Aquino Wampanoag activist who helped establish a national day of mourning in 1970, called the Wampanoag welcoming of the English settlers perhaps our biggest mistake. He said the welcoming of these settlers was their biggest mistake. They should have killed them when they came here. That's what he's saying. We should have wiped them out. We welcomed them with open arms, man. Right? On the National Day of Mourning, Native Americans gather in Plymouth, Massachusetts for a day of remembrance. Prayers and speeches take place, accompanied by beating drums before participants march through the Plymouth Historic District. Participants in the National Day of Mourning honor Native ancestors and the struggles of Native peoples to survive today. The commemorating plague says in part is a day of remembrance and spiritual connection, as well as a protest of the racism and oppression which Native Americans continue to experience. That's real right there. That's Thanksgiving in a nutshell. That's not even like the full, they telling the whole story. They literally went Thanksgiving and demolished a whole city and town full of Native Americans. Am I lying, sir? Literally It was a town over there. They demolished them. What's the city? What's the park out in New York? Central Park. Central Park, right? They got like under Central Park is thousands or hundreds of Native Americans bodies. Mass grave was buried under. It was a Native American city in Central Park, New York. So you talk about Thanksgiving, you know what I'm saying? Thanksgiving, that sounds miraculous, like the brothers are saying. Thanksgiving. Because that's what it was. They killed us and they want us to thank them for it. But like I said, what you get? Thanksgiving. You get what? You get Christianity. That's what they want you to be thankful for, the Christianity. Alright? Anybody ever, you gotta be a little bit older to know about this. First of all, is there any questions at all? You ain't got any questions? No questions? Don't you have a question, sis?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But it just goes back to the where you was talking about the food,
Mm-hmm.
and we was having a conversation at work. The other day.
Yeah, man.
But it was a saying that they said that I never heard before about the eating of the pork.
What?
The eating of the pork. And I wanted to ask a question about where in the Bible it was saying that it was, she said that, how did she put it? That God had blessed pork in a way that now it was clean to eat. I never heard it before, but I was wondering.
Okay. Let me demolish that for you really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. You can take the mic back. Okay. Okay. Hey, Naposh, can you read 1 Timothy chapter 4 for me?
Chapter 4.
Mm-hmm.
Which verse?
I'll tell you in a second. Okay. Go to the first verse.
This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1. Now Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith.
So the Spirit is in Paul. He said they speak of expressly, they speaking it to him. That a lot of times people going to depart from the faith. You know?
Giving heed to seducing spirits.
Giving heed to seducing spirits. See, during this time, like no, stop that. But Israel didn't eat pork at this time. Y'all get that, right?
Oh.
Israel did not eat pork during this time. Judea, they didn't eat pork during Christ's time, right?
Slaggy pork was considered like not food, because it's not food.
Exactly.
I mean,
They didn't eat pork at this time. They followed, how do you put it? I gotta put it delicately, because I don't people gonna think I mean that they was following the whole law. They were following the law more than we follow the law today. If you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So were they following the whole law? No. They were more so, I'm not saying that nobody was eating pork. You can't make that statement. That's an unfounded statement. But what I'm saying is, it was like today, they'll give you a ham sandwich. At that time, they wouldn't give you a ham sandwich. They might eat it in their house, but they ain't gonna do it publicly. You know what I'm saying? Just like how Christians, they'll be a whore privately, right? And be holier than thou at the church. the same way, but the law was the holier than thou. The big hat, they have at church make them more holy. They actually acted like they followed the law. See what I'm saying? That was kind of the difference. You get what I mean? But they did follow the law more than we do now. The law at least was important to say that you follow. Now you look at it like, why you follow the law? You crazy. I'm eat what I want. Right? Keep going.
And doctrines of devils.
Oh, you say giving heed to seducing spirits. A devil will tell you to eat pork, and you're not supposed to eat it, is a seducing spirit. Right? The seducing spirit to tell you to lay with that woman you shouldn't be laying with. Lay with that man you shouldn't be laying with. Right? That's a seducing spirit. Right? And doctrines of devils. It's okay to eat that pork. Just bless the food. That's what they tell you. Bless the food. Keep going.
Verse 2. Speaking lies and hypocrisy.
Speaking lies and hypocrisy. So they're telling you to do something that they're not going to do. Alright? Keep going.
Having a constantly scared with a hot iron.
It's seared with a hot iron. So it's like numbing their conscience. You know what I'm saying? They can't feel. They don't have a conscience no more. Right? Keep going.
Verse 3. Forbidding to marry.
Forbidding to marry. What they tell you in the Catholic Church if you're a priest?
Get married.
You're a nun. You can't get married, right?
Right.
They forbidding you to marry. Right? Forbidding to marry. Keep going.
And commanding to abstain from meats.
Oh, you can't eat no meat. What's the thing they got now? I'm vegan. I don't want to eat meat. Meat is bad for you. Hell, it's a whole group of Israelites that say you're not supposed to eat meat. There's a whole group of them. My mom said, the whole group. They the ones in Demona, Israel right now, saying you're supposed to be a vegan. Teach all these people to be a vegan, but the law says you must eat lamb on Passover day. You can be vegan the rest of the week, the rest of the year, but you must eat it. But they don't even eat it during Passover. That tells you that that's against God, because He said you must eat lamb on Passover day. That's a commandment, right? But they don't eat it. So keep going.
Which the Most High created to be received with thanksgiving of Him.
Well, what's the it's been created to be received with thanksgiving. So now He said, as long as you thank God for the food, it's all good. But here's the kicker. Keep reading the verse.
Of them which believe and know the truth.
For them that believe and know the truth. They ain't gonna tell you what the truth is. The truth is to them is what's the word? It depends on how they feel. That's what the truth is. That's why He got His own truth. You got your own truth. He got his truth. I got my truth. It's subject to how you feel. That's what that truth is in the Christian church. But you got to go by what's God's truth. Keep going.
Verse 4. For every creature of the Most High is good.
Every creature, is good. Keep going.
And nothing to be refused.
And don't refuse nothing. Don't refuse nothing. Keep going.
If it be received with thanksgiving.
All you got to do is thank Him. Thank God. You can have that ham and all that. Right? We're going to break that down. Go read that last verse.
Comes from verse 5. For they are sanctified by the word of the Most High and prayer.
They don't even know the word of the Most High. And what does God say about prayers? What did God say about prayers?
Right.
Go ahead, sir.
It's in Proverbs 28, verse 4, 9, where it says, God don't hear the prayers of sinners.
There you go. He don't hear your prayers if you a sinner. What's a sinner? Somebody eats pork. How do you know this? Give me Psalms 119 and 142. One 142.
Oh,
Like,
What is that?
you know it's another word for a sinner? A criminal.
Yeah, that's a criminal. It really is. All right, go ahead on the conference call.
This is true from I.S.U.P.K. I was, can you use, for saying God don't hear the prayers of the sinner, can you use Matthew 7 and 21 as a precept for that?
Let me get this one first. We'll go to that one. Just remind me, okay?
Okay.
All right, read that for me.
Book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 42. So shall I have
142. 142.
I'm sorry. That's like which was?
142.
That's Psalm 142, right?
No, Psalms 119, verse 142.
Oh. That's the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness.
So he said, God, his righteousness is an everlasting righteousness. So what was righteousness was in the past is what's righteous now. It's everlasting. That's what make you righteous, right? Keep going.
And thy law is the truth.
The law is the truth. The law that says don't eat pork is the truth. Is that the word? Is that the scripture you was looking for? You want to know that said don't eat pork, or you know that's not? You know it's against the law.
Oh, I know of the scriptures that states what you should and should not.
Okay,
do.
cool. I'm great. We'll teach you well. I see. All right, so see. But yeah, that's what the truth is. The law is the truth. They skip right past that because in their mind, the truth is subjective to whatever they feel the truth is. But you got to go on what God said the truth is. He said the law is the truth. All right. Now give me Acts chapter 10. Mashallah. Go ahead and read that scripture for me. What you want to ask?
It's like it too. If I may,
Yeah, you go ahead real quick. Sir.
That pork, like, it causes us, like, to have generational curses. Like, you might have a brother like me that don't eat pork, or my son don't eat pork, but we still don't get diabetes because of our grandfathers and our grandmothers eating that damn pork. Because it's in the blood. Know what I mean? And that's why it's so dangerous. Like, I don't eat pork, but, you know, I got a generational curse from my father and my great-grandfather for eating that crap, which is diabetes. You know, diabetes, high blood pressure, all that come from eating that nasty swine. All right, and it's very dangerous because you might live a long time, but your kids might not. You know, it's a punishment come behind eating these creatures that the Lord hates. Like the Chinese man was eating bat, whatever he embryo soup, whatever he was eating, it affected the earth. You know what I mean? And we gotta be careful about eating animals that is not food. Yeah.
And it's not even that the Lord even hates those animals. I'm not trying to correct you like that, but it's more so He hates you to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Pigs are not a bad animal. They're just not supposed to be eaten. You know what I'm saying? They clean the earth. Shrimps aren't a bad animal, right? They're not bad. They're not evil. They're just evil for you to eat. They aren't for people to eat for consumption, right?
And it's like it's the reason why they're evil, because they eat dead corpses and they eat diseases.
God, that's
You always read
Kind of stuff. Like so when I mean evil, like they think of it as like I'm talking about like the Christian evil, if I could.
No,
The Christian evil, they think of it as like it's evil, like it's this evil thing. But no, evil just means evil is anything against the Most High.
Right.
That's what evil really means.
See, what I'm saying is like, you know, what the Lord tell you don't do, it will bring you life. Like, eat animals that he told you don't eat, gonna kill you. And he tell you in the Bible, if you eat the animals, you're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, like, if you don't keep the laws, you're gonna die. The laws will keep you clean. And you eating swine, that's what the white man, he enforced. He tried his hardest to put pig in everything we eat right now, man. When you go to Wendy's, they got a Baconator. They got bacon jam. I don't know if y'all seen that at Wendy's, man. They got bacon jam, man. Everywhere you go, they got bacon. And they doing it, right? Because they enforcing their culture on you. I mean, so we have to be careful of what the oppressor is up to. And he always want to push that swine, man. So, yeah.
Because he can eat the swine. It don't do nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Because he's not an Israelite. That's what you gotta think of it as. They could do all of this stuff. Like Chinese people, they can eat all of that. They be eating bats for years. That's why Moab, it mean wash pot. You know what wash pot is? What you do in the sink, in your sink at home.
Wash my dishes.
Exactly. That's what they are, the sink. They're the dirt. All of that dirt. A wash pot is even worse because you gotta think they didn't necessarily have running water like that. They go inside your faucet and then it drain out, go to the sewer. Some cultures had something similar, but it wasn't as modern as it is today, right? You gotta think of it as a pot. Yeah, you might go to somewhere where it's water's flowing and you go get the water. This is where you wash your hands and wash your feet off for the day, and then there's fill of dirt at the bottom. That's what Moab means. They're the wash pot. All the dirt and filth and earth is in Moab, which is Chinese people. Right? So they can eat all that stuff. It don't do nothing to them. You're not supposed to eat that stuff. All right. Go ahead, Mashallah. What was that verse we wanted to get?
I want to, when you was talking about the Lord don't hear your prayers, I was going to use Matthew 7:21.
All right, go ahead and read it.
It says, the book of Matthew chapter 7 and verse 21, it says, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Lucky.
Yeah, that is. You can use that because that's it's kind of that, but I just want to give you more context, right? Because this is talking about how people like it's still because they still Christians, but this is talking about like when because if I'm not mistaken, this was well, I think it's when John's disciples was there, wasn't it?
Oh.
Let me see. Well, yeah, you can still use it as that. I was like to give people more context.
I got the perfect one, if I could. Get the flash. John chapter 9, verse 31. This one I should have gave you the first time.
9:31.
John chapter 9, verse 31.
Paul the book of
This is perfect.
John chapter 9, verse 31. Now we know that the Most High heareth not sinners, but if any man be a worshiper of the Most High, and doeth his will, him he hears.
So that's who he hears. Somebody that does his will. He don't hear you as a sinner. You didn't even know that was in the New Testament, did you? They tell you that it's okay to sin in the New Testament. That's in the New Testament. All right? New Testament telling you you're not supposed to be a sinner. But they said God loves all sinners, right? He hates the sin but loves the sinner. That ain't what the Bible says. God said he hates sinners. Because you're a criminal. That's literally what you are. Like you see how the government hates black people because they feel like we're criminals? That's like how God feels about us when we sin. He hates us because of it. That's why we get punished. That's why he allows them to punish us. Because, in some version, we are criminals.
Yeah, right.
And it's not criminals like of course, our oppressor is the ultimate criminal. We get that. But they being a criminal to us, we being a criminal to our God. See the difference? You being a criminal to the Most High. You could be, I'm not saying for us to do because that's still against the Most High. But they can do that to us because we neglecting our power. They not neglecting their power. Their power is Satan.
Right.
When they do that to us, they in full power of their power. That white Jesus, that's Satan. That's their power. They embracing him. They love that Jesus. They love white Jesus. They can't get enough. I was watching, man. I was looking at something today. It was talking about David and Goliath. Why is both of them Caucasians? Now y'all know Goliath was a Philistine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where does Philistines come from? No. What are the Philistines today? You ain't got to be 100% like accurate, but give me around close to it.
Philistines can be like, some would be like Arabs. Or, no, it's somewhere east.
No.
In Middle Eastern.
They Africans.
That's right.
That's right.
They staying Africans.
Yeah.
So how is he a Caucasian, boy? But then they still say you African and give you the curse for it. Notice that? They can say you was black. They say you got the curse of Ham. You get how crazy that is? But now he a Caucasian? Go ahead, man.
And Philistines, they the worst of all Africans because you have the Hamite that's an African, and you get the Canaanite that's the worst of all Africans. Like you hear about the Canaanite, you hear about the worst. You hear about the African that got cursed already. You know what I mean? By the Most High with the time of Noah. The Canaanites is a cursed nation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You already cursed being a damn Hamite because you got to walk around with a plate in your lip. Nah, but you're a Canaanite. You're a Canaanite. You know what I mean? A Canaanite is the worst of all. It's the worst of all of them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's what a Philistine is.
Yeah, that's right. He is a Canaanite. So that's just the state he is African. But he's a Caucasian in the movies. They're gonna play both of them as Caucasians. But that's how they do that because they were like. That's why sometimes I can't even get mad at black people when they like kind of like get away from the Bible a little bit. Like I mean, it's because they think of it as every time they see it, it's never in its true context, ever. They think of it as, because of faith, like Christian faith, the reason why David beat Goliath. But no, he beat Goliath because God wanted him dead. Because he was oppressing Israelites. That's why he wanted them dead. Because he loves you so much. That's why he let David kill Goliath. It wasn't because of all of this faith. Yeah, does it play a part? God, it does. But no, he let that happen because, first of all, he sent Samson to kill the Philistines. He didn't. Samson, he killed what, like 1,000 people with a jawbone? He was killing Philistines, Africans. You don't hear about this in Christian church, right? You never heard this before. He killed Philistines, Africans. But because he got beguiled by a woman, he ended up, his last dying creed, he was in a building full of Africans, and they burned his eyes out. And they was ready to make a mockery of him. And he said, God, if you give my straight one more time, right? I'm a die. Basically, I'ma die like a man. He took the pillars, shook them, and brought the house down on Staken Africans. Like you hear that? That's a real story. Right? You don't hear no, I never knew that Samson did that. I never knew that. That's like an inspirational story. Go ahead.
Two things I want to ask. Well, have you seen a new movie where they got, I think Samson is like a motorbike in the new movie?
Yeah, I saw. I can't remember too much, but I did watch it.
Yeah, I think his nationality is there. I'm not sure. And I also want to ask you, so when David killed Goliath, was that an actual giant or just like, a man of high stature?
From what I know, he was actually tall. He was taller than most men. It don't mean that he was. They try to say he was a Nephilim. Which a Nephilim, what they say is when it's like Christian church, they all confused. They say it was a Nephilim. They said the sons of God was laying with the women of men, and they became the giants. So they considered that he was a Nephilim. But no, he wasn't a Nephilim. He was just a tall person. He was like Shaq's height, a big man. That's all.
Slocky too. The Nephilim, that's Norse mythology.
Yeah. Like
when you see Thor and Odin, the Asgardians and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That come from Norse mythology. The Vikings, they're real believing in God. They got Nephilim in their belief system. I mean, that comes from their culture, not from the Bible, But they added that into the NIV, all these new Bibles. Not the King. If you read the King James Bible, it don't say Nephilim. In Genesis chapter 6, I'm going down to whatever verse. It says giant.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
But Nephilim, that comes from what they so-called Book of Jasher or one of them other books.
Them books, white man wrote them books too.
Huh?
The white man wrote them books too.
That's like he wrote them. Those were literal books written by the so-called oppressor. Like those, the Book of Jasher, the Enoch. That's Enoch. That's what it was. Enoch. Mm-hmm. That came from the Book of Enoch, which teaches that. Right. But the Book of Enoch is the book. Just to say it briefly, there was a time in way back when Christianity was like the thing, and everybody wanted to come out with new artifacts of Christianity. That's when the Book of Jasher and Enoch came, because it was spoken before in the books of the Bible. But they don't have the books of Jasher or Book of Enoch. They're not preserved. Mm-hmm. So we don't have them anymore. Those are just what they said that the book should have said, or they think the book said. That's what the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jasher is. It's not the real books. All right. Did we ever get to the brothers? Oh, yeah, we got to the scripture. And you got another question?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
When you're talking about the Nephilim and the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jasher, from my understanding, they are books. Those two books are books about a book. You know what I mean? Yep. Meaning that it's a description about something that they want to say is there, but they don't really have. Like you said, they don't have the actual book. Mm-hmm. So it's a book about a book.
Exactly. So if it actually was the book, it would have been in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They had the Apocrypha was in there.
Right.
Everything that they had, the whole Bible, except for the New Testament, because the New Testament was more so newer. Everything else was there, the Bible, the Apocrypha. If it would have been in the Dead Sea Scrolls. But we don't have it. It didn't survive through all the numerous captivities we had. Just like all records right now ain't surviving because of slavery. It's hard to find out what black people really did because we were slaves. Right? You want to say something?
Yeah. Also, when you want to know about the truth about the Book of Enoch, even our ancestors, the Jews of antiquity, right? They said that those books was it was called, I hope I pronounced it right, Pseudo-Pediagrapher, and there was not a canon. There was a non-canonical book. When you want to know about if a book belongs in the Bible, they would consider that book a canon, and they will consider a book called Pseudo-Pediagrapher, which means this book was written by somebody else, but they put the book Enoch name on it. But then they wrote the book, but they put Enoch name on it. You know what I mean? It's really how can you put it identity fraud.
Yeah.
Identity fraud. The white man who really wrote the book of Enoch, his name was James Bruce. You can look it up. He claimed he found the book of Enoch in Ethiopia, and he rewrote it. He wrote it all over again. That's what he did. He wrote everything over again, and he said he claimed he found the book in fragments. But how can you write a book that's in fragments?
If that book, that same as the Book of Mormon, toilet paper.
Right.
Go ahead.
I'm about to say something like a autobiography about it, like the Enoch, cause there's somebody else.
No, it's
not. Something like that.
It's not an autobiography.
Oh.
It's just it's a fairy tale.
Right.
It's Little Red Riding Hood. The same way you can think of Little Red Riding Hood and the Three Bears. That's what you can think of that. It's a bedtime story. Read it. Like I said, I wouldn't suggest people read it because you don't want to get confused. But like, look at it as a bed. Just think of it as like the Quran. The Quran what was toilet paper? The Book of Mormon.
It's like the Book of the Dead.
Book of the Dead. That's stream toilet paper. All those are toilet paper. Think about it like that. They're all the same thing, right? But they teach lies to our people. But our people will, like, it's a distraction. So people will start studying more on the Book of Enoch or the Book of Jasher more than they study the Leviticus. That's where they get confused. You know what I'm saying? They won't study the books of the Bible. They'll go and study the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jasher harder than they study the Bible.
And it's like it. I'm guilty of that because I used to study that Book of Enoch because I was so curious about fallen angels.
Yeah.
And I thought the war that we were fighting was about fighting these fallen angels, fighting Satan and these fallen angels. The whole damn time, when I came to the truth, I learned that you are the fallen angel. You the angel that fell. When you learn about the word called angel, it just means messenger.
Mm-hmm.
And who the Lord gave his message to? Who he gave his laws to? He gave it to you. You know what I mean? And guess what? You turn around and fail because you didn't want to promote his message throughout the earth. You want to promote the white man message, everybody else's message. And you that fallen angel that's held in chains of darkness until judgment day.
Mm-hmm. Like where it says that they lay with the men, the angels, the sons of God. That's Israel laying with other nations. We laying with the sons of men. We said the sons of God laying with the sons of men, or daughters of men. That's a black or Hispanic Native American laying with the heathen. That's the same thing. Because the whole thing, just to do it briefly, is they said there was big men, giant men, which basically it just means that whenever you have like a kingdom and you put those two people together, that makes them more popular than everybody else because they just united two nations. The same way, like, you see how we celebrate mixed kids? You see how we act towards them? Like Drake, right? I mean, of course, he's not mixed, but you know what I'm saying? He is mixed. Feel what I mean? He's still an African American or a Jew. He's still a Jew, but he's mixed according, because his mom was a white woman, right? So he's a mixed child, so to say. So those children always get up higher than a lot of, because they represent both of those nations. So they look at them higher than they look at somebody that was just naturally born in a nation. That's all it means that we're giant. People of renown, people that were known. That's all. So, all right. Has anybody ever seen this image before? You gotta be a little older to know about this. You seen that before?
Yes.
You see that in school? I used to make us draw these.
They used to make it on the instruction.
Huh?
Visual there, I probably see on close.
What's that from the camera though?
Oh yeah, sure do.
You used to have to draw these in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to draw and color them in together all every Thanksgiving. Anybody know what that's called? It's called a cornucopia. Cornucopia. Alright? Let's talk about it. But y'all think that a cornucopia was because of Thanksgiving. Right? But no, this is actually a representation of a Roman and Greek god. Go ahead.
If I may, I'm not watching the class. Are you talking about the little thing that they have on the Thanksgiving table with all the vegetables and fruit in?
Yeah, the little basket.
It represents, it has a meaning behind it. I forget the meaning. It's been a while since I had that in my mind, but it got those items that have meaning.
Yeah, they do. I gotta try to remember it too. Yeah. They have meaning. It's like you get different ones, like every fruit in there means something, but it's coming from a Greco-Roman god. All right, this is the cornucopia in mythology. The cornucopia is an ancient symbol with origins in mythology. The most often cited myth involves Greek god Zeus, who was said to have been nursed by Amalthea, a goat. One day he was playing too roughly with her and broke off one of her horns. Her horn became a symbol of strength, Zeus, and nourishment, Amalthea. So he was nursing from a goat. That sounds like a person, right? You just gonna nurse from a random goat, right? Another myth that is attributed to the origins of cornucopia told of a Greek demigod, Heracles, which is Hercules, right? Roman mythology, wrestling with the river god Achilles, who was often portrayed as horned. Hercules, renowned for his strength, broke off one of Achilles' horns. Hercules kept the horn and filled it with fruits and flowers to be presented as a wedding gift to Yahanna, his betrothed. Regardless of whose horn inspired the stories, the horn became an attribute of many Greek and Roman deities who represented the abundance and the harvest. It was most closely associated with the goddess Fortuna. Filled with the fruits of the harvest, it became the horn of plenty. The cornucopian history. As Christianity spread throughout the ancient world, many peoples clung to pagan symbols like the horn of plenty. It lost its mythical association and instead became associated with bountiful harvest. It was used in harvest celebrations and was even part of church decorations during the harvest festivities. Many representations of horns of plenty appear in both paintings and statuary over the centuries. The word cornucopia is first documented in the English dictionary that was printed in 1508. It derives from two separate Latin words, cornu, which means horn, and copia, which means plenty. Because of its association with abundance, the cornucopia has been used on currency, seals, coats of arms, and in more modern times, it has been used as the ornamentation of public buildings such as banks and government offices. All right? How did the cornucopia become associated with the Thanksgiving holiday? The first Thanksgiving celebrated by the Pilgrims and Native Americans was a harvest celebration similar to the ones that the Pilgrims had celebrated in their home country. So this was done way before the Pilgrims even came to America. So how you celebrating? This was something that was done. These were feasts done in Greco-Roman times. So this was not something new. He just associated with Thanksgiving. You get that? All right. However, it did not become an annual public holiday until the Civil War. President Lincoln, that bastard, decided that a public holiday to be celebrated by everyone, North and South, would be a good way of unifying the nation. Had nothing to do with you. He wasn't trying to unify black people. You know that, right? He was trying to unify those southern rednecks with the people up north, the Yankees. They was trying to unify them. They didn't care about you being unified with them. That's why they still had colors only bathroom in here, whites only place. They didn't want you to be unified. They wanted the north and the south of their country to be unified. You gotta look at these words and see what they mean by them. Right? He proclaimed that the last Thursday of November to be our day of Thanksgiving. The date was changed to the fourth Thursday in November by President Roosevelt in 1941. So just like all of the holidays in general, because you see like when it comes to books, that's what they do. They know the history. They know that Constantine unified Rome by making the holidays, also they celebrated, they brought it into their religion. That's how he unified Rome. Did y'all know this? That was the whole council in Nicaea, was to unify Rome. And they brought in, or they said, okay, we're going to have everybody under one banner, one set of laws, which was, quote unquote, it took some stuff out of the Bible, right? It said we're not going to kill each other or do these certain things, steal from each other, right? We're going to stop that. Yeah, because, but yeah, they stopped all of that, but they said, you know what? We're going to let all these pagan gods come in, just slither their way in, right? Yeah, we got something for that, though. Traditional foods for Thanksgiving holiday were a reflection of the foods that are thought to have been served at the first Thanksgiving celebration. The main course, turkey, is a native bird, although the ones found on our Thanksgiving tables little resemble the original wild turkeys. Potatoes, cranberries, corn, sweet potatoes, pumpkins, and squash, all of which are native fruits and vegetables, are features of a traditional menu. Newer migrant groups have added dishes that are traditional to their cultures to their Thanksgiving menus. Thanksgiving decor has always featured the fruits of the fall harvest, so it is no surprise that the traditional and very ancient cornucopia is also included. Often a centerpiece of the Thanksgiving table, cornucopias are offered for sale at many places in the fall. The horn is usually a wicker basket, but it can also be made of ceramic, metal, stone, or even wood. The vegetables, fruits, nuts, and flowers filling them are manufactured rather than a real thing. After Thanksgiving, most people store them for reuse the following year. All these come from false gods. So you see why you should celebrate all these things, right? Read a couple scriptures real quick. Give me Isaiah 55 and 8.
Coming from the book of Isaiah, chapter 55, verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts.
His thoughts, God's thoughts, that's God talking. His thoughts are not your thoughts. That is, people saying, okay. People saying that, well, God, he okay with it. I'm just celebrating God for what he gave me, right? That's what everybody thinks. But this thing is, God said his thoughts are not your thoughts. So he hates Thanksgiving. He doesn't love these things just because you think you love it, you think it's innocent or whatever, but you actually is celebrating an oppressor's God. You celebrating his God. You got the horn of plenty because Zeus was getting fed by a goat. This is where all these things come from. They were celebrating this long before. Every culture has a Thanksgiving feast during that, right? Mm-hmm. Every culture has that. But you celebrate other gods. You can have a feast of first fruits, right? That's the first harvest. We celebrate that amongst the brothers. But you celebrating God gave it to us. You celebrating Zeus and a goat. We celebrate Thanksgiving. You saying thank you, goat, and thank you, fake oppressor man for giving me this. Go ahead.
I was going to say, a joke about it said, thank you for giving us this damn country.
Huh?
Thank you for giving us this damn country.
Yeah, that's how they feel. They thanking you for giving them their country. That's what they thinking, right? So, yeah, man. That's what Thanksgiving's all about. You keep reading that for me?
Neither are your ways my ways.
No, God say neither your ways are his ways. So he don't water down his message. He don't change his message. What he wants you to do, he wants you to follow it. God doesn't care about your feelings, how you feel about something. He wants you to obey or not to. He wants you to obey. And that's it. He don't want you not to obey because he going to punish you for it. But he wants you to obey. That's what he wants. There is no wiggle room around it, right? Is it on that? Huh?
Come. It saith the Lord.
There you go, says the Lord. Give me Ecclesiastes 7:13.
Come. Lord, Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 13. Consider the work of the Most High, but who can make that straight which he had made crooked?
So how you gonna make Thanksgiving straight? It was made crooked. It's been crooked. You can't straighten it out. You can't put, white Jesus face on it to make it straight. It's always been crooked. God made Thanksgiving crooked. That's real talk. He made it crooked. You can't make it clean now because you feel like it. Because you're emotionally invested in Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? All right. All right, give me Proverbs 3:31.
Come. The book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 31. Envy thou not your oppressor, and choose none of his ways.
Don't envy him. Don't choose none of his ways. His ways is Thanksgiving. Do not do Thanksgiving. That's his ways. Give me Hosea 9:1.
But Hosea chapter 9 verse 1. Rejoice not, O Israel, for joy as other people, for thou hast gone a whoring from thy God.
So he said, don't rejoice, Israel. Rejoice not for joy. Don't have joy in this hell. Don't have joy like that in this hell, right? As other people, for they have gone a whoring from their God. Like us, like, for you have gone a whoring against your God. You become a whore, which means you take in another God's. That's what, like people say that fornication, you've been taught fornication is you having sex before marriage, right? It's everybody's taught, but sex is marriage. That's what literal marriage is in the Bible. Once you lay with that woman, that is your wife, right? Now it's not, during this time, like we had our kingdom, so it was more presentable to have a ceremony and do it the right way and do all of that. But there are times like this is the way we have our wives now. You lay with that woman, that is your woman. It has always been that way, right? So, but that's for fornication. Most times in the Bible, it's talking about you going to take another God in, right? That's the equivalent of your wife taking another ride, is you taking another guy, right? Keep going.
Thou hast laid a reward upon every cornflower. Cornflower.
So you love every reward, because why do we like Thanksgiving? They gave us a day off from slavery. That's why we love the holidays so much, because it's finally get a break off of your slavery that you had. Think about slavery. This is how they kept the slaves happy. They would give them holidays, let them have half the day off, so they could celebrate, cook, laugh, dance, have a good time. And that's the same thing we do today. Same exact thing we do today. And you want a reward off of every corn floor. You want the rewards off the floor. The rewards God got for you is high. You want the rewards off the floor. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 2.
No. Who was on the phone?
Well, sir, if I may, it's a real heavy point bringing out. If I may, I was speaking to some family members today, and they talking about how they got free turkeys all over the place. And the devil, the purpose of the devil, that they do what the mouth, you guys say. After they done the jargani, after they start killing and doing all the murdering, they'll give you a turkey on Thanksgiving. Now it's a tradition. Now you go all over parts of New York, we give out free turkey. You got to go out and get like 300-400 pieces of turkey. I know it's better, but they got like 4 or 5. Don't do it. But they're in the world and all that. But the person is devil. They're gonna try to get you to fire your people with a piece of meat.
Exactly. Give me Ecclesiastes 7:7.
Come, is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and the gift destroys the heart.
Oppression makes you mad, but then your heart that you get when you get oppressed, when you get oppressed and you get that heart, we want to fight against your oppression, right? But a gift destroys it. What's a gift? That turkey.
What?
That what's that? What's that sauce they give you? That cranberry sauce. That's a gift. You get a day off of your slavery. Now you get a good laugh in. Now you get to sit around and talk about it while y'all picking cotton. Man, we had a good old time last night, man. You see how they was like, yeah, man, I saw that. Nah, you didn't forgot you was oppressed because they gave you a gift. It destroys your heart, man. It destroys your will to fight against your oppressor. Don't think they don't know these things. All oppressors, they read the book of Proverbs. Right? Now read for me Ecclesiastes 12:10.
That's like a warrior.
Good.
That's like Joe Biden. Joe Biden will give him stimulus checks, right? So he can make you not even try to do research on how he was in the 1990s when he was calling black people super predators and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah. They get destroy your heart. Like you want to fight against you. Black people was about becoming Republican. But they said we gonna start, Trump, he was giving out money, all of that. Mm-hmm. So now, he started talking about he gonna give out money. Because they trying to destroy your heart. I mean, they are destroying your heart, don't get it twisted. But like I said, I just always found it real interesting how black people are democratic. I always just found that very interesting. Because it's against the law of the Bible to vote. Y'all probably didn't know this growing up, but it's against the law of the vote. The Bible says if you're supposed to pick a king, you're supposed to pick somebody out of your own nation, your own people. You don't pick a heathen to rule over you. The Bible says this, right? But if you were in the world, Democrats don't represent your best interests. Just being for real. They don't represent your best interests. So it's always been to me, why do you want to be a Democrat so bad? You know what I'm saying? Because we know what Democrats want? They literally love, but here's what they are. One of them is a little slicker. The Republican kind of more tell you more what it is. And that's wrong with black people. We don't want to hear, we don't like hearing tough talk. We like to hear the smooth stuff. And that's what Democrats do. They tell you the smooth words. Real smooth. But they destroying you at a faster rate than the Republicans are. That's just the truth. They want single parent households. They're for abortion. Democrats did abortion. I know this, right? Democrats, that lady Margaret Sanger, she was a Democrat. Right? She knew that we was getting a lot of people, and we was reproducing a lot at a higher level. She said, how can I stop them from reproducing? Let's make Planned Parenthood. Let them kill each other. Before they even kill each other in the womb, before they even take their first breath by themselves. We gonna kill them. She part of that eugenics movement. Y'all don't even know this stuff. Margaret Sanger, and guess what she was? Guess what tribe of oppressor she was? Guess what tribe of oppressor she was? And y'all know. Go ahead.
So she was of the tribe of Amalek.
She was an Amalekite. You know what that is today? So-called Jewish man. He's Amalek. The most despicable devils in all of the Bible. The one that the Most High told us to go kill. All of them, but Saul let some of them live. The most despicable one. The ones we was running out of Egypt, and they was killing our weak and our children and our old people. They was killing them. That's who you let tell you it was a good idea to abort your babies. That tribe of people. And people think that people change. What they say? Zebra can't change the stripes. The apple don't fall too far from the tree. They ain't changed nothing. They just know how to do it more craftier than they normally have done it. Right?
Yeah. Also, the Amalekites, they came back as the Greeks. Cause Alexander the Great was a Amalekite. Father Philip was too. Now, I mean, you read about in the book of Maccabees, the Macedonians was descendants of King Agag. So these same disgusting people came back as the Greeks because of King Saul not killing off the Amalekites was how the Lord told us to do. I mean,
Agag, we were supposed to kill him off. He was in a position to try to wipe all of Israel off. You read that in the book of Esther. He was in a position. He tried to kill all of all of Israel. But the Most High prevented it.
You're talking Haman, right?
Come, yeah. Haman, he was an Agagite. He was Amalek.
It's like, and he was a Macedonian.
You mean before the Macedonians?
No, he was a Macedonian. It's in the book of Esther and Apocrypha. I can find it for
Oh, you talking about the other part of Esther? I got you.
Yeah, it tells you he's a Macedonian.
Don't surprise me.
Yeah.
And that's who you want to follow. You think if you start looking in between all these democratic movements, they all ran by Amalek. Look at what's that? Black Lives Matter? Amalek. George Soros? That's Amalek. All of that. They run all of the music industry, they run all of the movies. The movies that tell you that it's okay to kill your brother. That's all ran by Amalek. The Democrats want you to destroy yourself. Like I said, I'm not condemning, I'm not trying to make the Republicans sound better. They ain't no better. But what I'm saying is, I just don't understand how we get to that point like, okay, let's be democratic and not Republican. If you in the world, I'm just talking about that worldly thoughts. That's what happens when you come into the truth. You start like thinking wiser. You know what I'm saying? You're like, how can you be a Democrat? Because they're out to destroy you even at a faster rate than Republicans. Because when, Republicans, they want to destroy you too. They want you to be a slave again. That's real. They want you to be a slave again. Because they love pure capitalism. But what I'm saying is, even if you was, like, as a slave, we was closer. As slaves. We was tighter. We didn't rape our women. We didn't, you know what I'm saying? We didn't beat our women, like, we didn't do all of this stuff. All of that stuff, like what they had with the color purple. The reason why women think that black men beat on them is because of color purple. Black men don't beat on women like this. Sorry to say. Everybody think that black men beat on them because of the color purple, because of what Mr. did. Go look all this stuff up. You can go look this up. And black people, they was fighting against that movie because they knew it was going to damage the reputation of men. Right? So you look all these things up. So what time is it? You had a question, sis?
No, you were talking about why most people in the world think they're Democrats. I think most of the time it's just generation to generation. Like with us, that's all we heard. You're not Republican, you're Democrat.
Yeah, it was forced. Like, yeah. I can't remember the exact story, but I think his name was Truman. He basically said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have black people voting Democratic for the rest of their life. Because black people was not Democrats. And I can't remember the exact story off the top of my head. Just I heard it, but it never like stuck with me. I can't remember it. But he did something, and black people have been Democratic ever since. Black people in the early like the 20s and the 30s, we was not Democrats. We became Democrats because of some president. I can't remember the story. So y'all can go look it up. Go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, it's because the black man was given the right to vote during that administration.
It could have been that. I can't remember. I can't recall. But he did something, and he made it so everybody was going to be Democrats. So, but we black people, like, you're supposed to be Christians, right? Democrats aren't Christians. They don't believe in following no laws of the Bible. The Republicans, I mean, they scathe out the rest of it, but they believe in a couple of them. One of them is one of them is a bullet shot to the heart, which is Democrats, and the other one is a slow leaking wound, which is which is Republicans. That's a slow leaking wound. They still gonna hurt you because they want you to be a slave, but one is slower than the other. That's the only difference. You know what I'm saying? They both hate you. It's just that one of them, like they want black people. Like I'll say one point, and I'm gonna They close out this class, it's getting late. But one even stuff like, you know, the Bible tells you to get rid of he says sell your garment and buy a sword. So God wants you to have a weapon. Even down to gun control laws. Gun control laws was really started out from black people because they didn't want black and Native Americans to have weapons. That's where the first gun control laws were. So all this stuff, we need to have a ban on guns. See, here's the thing. You know that dude that killed those people in the Vegas? You remember that? They killed all people in Vegas? With the AR-15?
Like a Waco?
No, in Vegas. You remember that massacre in Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about the thing in Vegas. What they're trying to do is make it so expensive to own a gun that poor people can't have guns. Right? To stop tragedies like that. But here's what they don't tell you. He was a millionaire. So he still would have been able to get guns to kill people. They don't tell you he was a millionaire. He had bread. So no gun control laws wouldn't have stopped him from getting guns. I gotta think about that. How do black people get guns? The government brings them in. It gives it to them. Yeah, they give them guns. That's how it happens. They're not, like people say they're taking guns. Heard somebody say they're getting guns from somewhere else, scraping the stuff off and letting somebody else get the gun. No, that's not how people get guns. The government is dropping guns off in Chicago, in New York. They're telling you it's in crates and they dropping them off. It's coming off the back of a truck. That's how it's getting there. They're not buying it and saying no. They dropping them off for you to go kill yourself, right? And even those cities that they're doing all of that in, most of those cities are Democratic cities. You know what I'm saying? Just say it. Anyway, anybody got any questions they might want to bring up? No questions. Nobody got to say. I'll close it out.
Sir, if I may.
Go ahead.
Congressman Troy Abbey was bringing out, I was watching something about the streets of the baby shooter was Stephen Paddock. And his brother was talking about in an interview that he was rich as hell. He had these special business boys just traveling all over the place. And if I remember, I believe General Muhammad was saying that, the MLK was a Republican. Most of black folks, civil rights leaders were Republican. It was around 64 when Barry Goldwater came through, and he was a far-right Republican, and that made the great switch. And everybody switched to Democrats. They started, giving them the red circuit, giving them a beer, and then destroying the house,
Exactly. That's where all this stuff comes from. Black people was Republican. It was not Democrat. To tell you the truth, because the Democrats, they're pretty much against what black people need. They're 100%. Republicans is 95. They're still up there, but there's certain things that you get benefits from. What do black people need? They need to have a moral compass. Republicans want you to, they don't believe in abortion for the most part. Right? They don't believe in that. So they got some morals that they won't go to. So the whole thing with that, about black people's Democratic, is crazy to me. It's like they just completely uneducated and don't know what the truth is. And that's why Yahanna brought, we trained up men so we can teach them. You know what I'm saying? Teach our people what the truth is. Right? Anything else? All right. With that, I pass the class over to the precinct officer of the Yahanna.
This is I.S.U.K security announcements. We're the I.S.U.K started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for a new brother and sister. When a new brother and sister come to the school, there are limits for 6 months. They are here to be saluted only. They are here to set themselves over the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After this 6 months, if a brother or sister have an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is the commandment, the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, and the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. My I.S.U.P.K means 10 in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free or offer for priest not mandatory, whatsoever amount you like. The next whole convocation is going to be this Sunday, in the space of 8 days, sundown. It'll be the Feast of Hanukkah, meaning Feast of Dedication. And you also can find that in the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 52 to 61. Uriah, Archium, and I'll walk them to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. Oh yeah, one more thing before you go to school, make sure you GPS the location. The location of the school is 3353 Glenwood Road, Decatur, Georgia. Every time you head to school. And what that? Byron, stand. You want to salute to the men of Israel. I.S.U.P.K, Barak, Yahweh Shabbat
Yahweh.
Well, I say to you in the Hebrew, may the Most High, in the name of Christ, bless you. Yahweh top, Sar, church and sister, stand. You know, you have your right hand on your left like this, and your feet touch like that, head down, change face to the Lord. Once they brought, you put your right hand on your chest. Men in Israel, give one curse salute to the sister. Men in Israel, I.S.U.P.K, Barak, Yahweh Shema El Tawbah Shem Yahshai.
Yahweh,
Shamar,
Al, Atah, Bahashil, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai, Shai. There you go.
Yeah, well, this in Hebrew, may the Most High watch over you in the name of Christ. Yah Im Atop. Me hands down, class dismissed.